Where is Montreal real estate really headed? Are the new changes that we're going to be seeing going to have a serious impact in our city? If you want to stay up to date with the latest news in Montreal real estate market, I have a video for you. I'm going to break down exactly what I think is coming to our wonderful city over the course of the next 3 years, and whether or not it's a good idea to start investing now in our city, or if you've actually missed the wave. Stay with me to the end because I'm going to break down what I'm currently doing in terms of investments right now. My name is Aguinaga. I'm a real estate broker with over 17 years experience. I don't just sell real estate, but I'm also an active investor. I have over 75 properties in and around the greater Montreal area, and I truly believe that real estate is one of the best ways to grow your wealth and really become financially free. So if you're interested in this, book a call with me. The information is down below. I can't wait to talk to you about how I've gotten to where I am today and how I can help you do the exact same thing. So without further ado, let's start breaking down where this market is heading and why. Let's start off with home prices. In 2023, we saw prices pull back a little bit. And then in 2024, we saw things stabilize, leading up to the 2025 rebound that we've seen, where prices are actually higher than they were at their peak in 2022. Now, why is this? Well, the reality is Montreal, being the second largest city in Canada, is still priced well below Toronto and Vancouver. Even with the 30-40% pullback that Toronto and Vancouver have been seeing lately, Montreal is still well below the average of both of those cities. So with everything we have going on economically, the fact that we are still so far behind in terms of pricing makes it a pretty interesting place to be investing and for families to set up camp, given all the benefits of the city and the price points that we have access to. Next, when we look at immigration, Montreal has been one of the largest, fastest growing cities across Canada. We look at statistics from 2024 and the ones that will be coming up shortly in 2025, we see how much immigration has been happening in Quebec. Even though in talks that we see in passing, it sounds like Quebec is trying to shut down the borders, the reality is, I believe Montreal grew somewhere between 4 and 5% year over year in 2024. And this is very significant. We're talking over 90,000 new immigrants arriving in the city of Montreal alone. When we take a step back and look at the entire province of Quebec, these numbers are even larger. So the reality is we have a lot of people arriving here, and this is obviously causing a surge in demand, whether it's for rental homes, for purchases, all of these things combined. It's just putting more pressure in the real estate market that we have here. We're expecting interest rates to stay quite stable over the course of the next couple of years. There's been a lot of insecurity in the market since the beginning of this year, and rates have stayed pretty stable. They've gone down 30 basis points. They've gone up maybe 30 basis points. But in the big picture of this, we're talking about less than a 15% shift that we've been seeing over this period of time. Therefore, if we keep interest rates stable over the next couple of years, we can only suspect that people are going to kind of take that weight off of their shoulders, put their shoulders down, and all of a sudden feel confident investing in real estate again. We know that the second half of 2022, all of 2023, and even the beginning of 2024, people were unsure what was going on, and the higher interest rates definitely put the brakes on them. It put the brakes on buyers just as much as sellers. So obviously by now having interest rates that are in the low fours, even kind of going below 4 a couple times, people are excited about real estate again. People ask me all the time, how's the market going? And the fact that we're in these interest rates, the phone does not stop ringing. And a lot of people have been getting back into these plans that they had put off for a long period of time and excited about really executing on them. We have seen a slowdown in the downtown condo market. This has been the reality since COVID. It kind of peaked a little bit when people were getting really inexpensive money in 2021, beginning of 2022. But after that, really the downtown condo market has been hurting. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a few seconds. There's been a couple different variables that have led that to be the reality, but that might make it a very interesting place to invest money if you're in it for the long term. Again, we'll break that down shortly. Let's dive in a little bit deeper into immigration and foreign buyers. Now, immigration targets for Quebec have been going up little by little every single year. And obviously with this, like I just mentioned, we're going to have more pressure being put on the real estate market. With more people, naturally comes more requirements. So therefore, we're either going to need more supply, but we know that building more supply has been very difficult and very slow, or we're just simply going to see this demand start to rise, and ultimately that's going to have an impact in terms of prices rising. As long as interest rates stay stable, that's probably what we're going to continue to see right now, because we've seen prices rise significantly over the first half of 2025, and therefore we expect to see this trend continue. Now, I don't expect it to be continuous growth, very significant growth over the next 3 years, but we are going to see prices continue to climb. Is that going to be 5%? Is that going to be 10% annually? Only time is going to tell. I predicted this year that we're going to see close to 10% growth in terms of pricing, and right now we're on track for that. I suspect the next couple of years, if things stay stable, we're probably looking at a 5 to 7% growth, which is still very significant growth, but not quite the double digits that we had seen at the peak COVID market or what we're expecting this year. The next thing that we have to talk about is the foreign buyers ban. Well, LJ, we have all these foreigners arriving, but they can't purchase property, so really that shouldn't be putting too much pressure on the sales segment of the market. The reality is, a foreigner who has no status in Canada cannot purchase property, but somebody who's here on a work visa that has at least 183 days left on it, they can purchase property. Somebody who has arrived as a permanent resident of the province of Quebec, they can purchase property. Somebody who's here on a student visa with a couple of restrictions is also open to potentially purchasing property. Therefore, the segment of people who actually live here are allowed to purchase property, and therefore, the foreign buyers ban isn't entirely stopping it. It is stopping the speculators who are simply parking funds in Canada, specifically in Quebec for the sake of this video, but it's not stopping people who are actually living, breathing Montreal culture, Quebec culture, and therefore are entitled to purchase property here as well. What's going to happen if this foreign buyers ban is lifted January 1st, 2027, or if they actually extend it for another 2 years? It's really tough to say what's going to happen here. When they first rolled this out, we really thought this was going to be a 2-year program and there would be no renewal. At the beginning of this year, they actually extended it by another 2 years, pushing it out to January 1st, 2027. If this were to get extended, well, certain markets are probably still going to be suffering because, like us, Montreal downtown condo market is the only market that's really been impacted, in my opinion, by the foreign buyers ban. I suspect this has had a much larger impact on Toronto and Vancouver that had a lot more foreign investors coming into those markets. Is it really going to play a large role in our market if it gets extended for 2 years? Probably not. Like I mentioned, there's a lot of opportunities for people who are foreigners but actually living here to invest in Montreal real estate. There's also opportunities for investors to invest in Montreal and in Canada through certain partnerships. So if they can make a partnership where the Canadian person has at least 50 or 51% of the shares of the corporation that will be investing, they can still continue to invest in this. So again, they're just complicating the way to invest, but it doesn't completely remove it off of the table. So what happens if it's lifted altogether? Well, if it is lifted, I think we're going to see another spike in the downtown condo market, which has actually been one of those segments that's been hurting for the last couple of years. So if it is lifted, prices are going to continue to go up. If it's not lifted, I don't see much impact because we're seeing prices rise right now with the foreign buyers ban enacted. So that's my take on immigration and how it's going to play a role in the Montreal real estate market over the next 3 years. Next up, zoning and development trends. The reality is right now Montreal is making a push in order to have more units, so basically densifying the city. Now I say making a push because that's what we're hearing about in the news, even if I've seen different things happen at an actual municipal level in terms of all the red tape required to get zoning changes made and to actually start being able to build on things, get certain properties demolished in order to build larger things on it. So it is still a process, but nevertheless, the idea right now is that we want to have more densified living. We want more duplexes, triplexes, fourplexes, sixplexes, etc. in the areas that were historically occupied by maybe single family homes or duplexes. Now, we're facing two different problems here. Whenever we're looking at redensifying or changing the zoning of a property, you don't just have to go to the city. You usually have to get it passed by the board and you have to get it approved by your neighbors. You need signatures. Nobody can object to it. It is actually a pretty convoluted process. Fortunately, whenever we have so many things involved in changing a zoning, well, we have the NIMBY, not in my backyard, people who are out there who don't want changes in their neighborhoods. Obviously, a lot of people invest in a certain neighborhood because of the density that it had, because of the parks, because of the services, etc. And people don't necessarily want that to change, even though that is what the city is requiring to a certain extent right now. So we're facing an uphill battle from a couple different faces right now. Now, what other things are happening in the city that are going to have an impact on this? Well, we have the REM project, which I know we've been talking about for many, many years, and it's taken several years to build, obviously, but by the end of next year, it should be pretty well complete. We're going to have the lines operational to the West Island, to the North Shore. The South Shore is already in operation, and that's really going to make a lot more things accessible. Getting to the airport, getting to downtown, getting all over the place is going to be a lot quicker, a lot greener, very smooth. So areas that obviously have these REM stations, even though the growth has already been priced in because we've known about where these stations are going to be for the last while, well, I think people are actually going to see the benefits now and are going to be willing to go to these further destinations that they were previously not considering because of traffic, because of transit, obviously. But they're now going to be open to making these moves because it's finally available again, right? In order to build this, the train lines that we used to have, the EXO lines that used to take people to the West Island as well as to the North Shore, they've been out of operation for the last 3 to 4 years. By bringing this back, you're going to have a renewed confidence in people to invest in these areas and to actually be able to get to their works downtown or wherever that might be and use this public transit, which is so important. We're also seeing municipalities start pushing a lot of the green incentives. So again, is that really going to change the game? I don't think so. Obviously, some builders might opt to build a little bit more green in order to have a few incentives from a municipal level, from a provincial or federal level. But at the end of the day, is that really going to play a large role in what we're seeing in terms of supply and demand? Because ultimately pricing is going to come down to supply and demand. I don't actually believe so. So again, that's just something that we're seeing, but won't necessarily make a huge change in our day-to-day. Now, if you've been wondering where you should invest, I'm going to break down the top 3 areas that I see a lot of growth happening over the course of the next few years for a variety of different reasons. Number 1 on my list, and it has been on the list for a while, is Vaudreuil. With the hospital that is currently being built out there, there's going to be a lot more people who are going to be very confident and happy to live in Vaudreuil. You already have an excellent quality of life. You have views on the river. You've got views or beautiful bike lanes and lots of parks, lots of very family-oriented living. You've got a great shopping center. You've got a Costco. You really have everything that you need out there. And by adding a hospital, you are officially going to have everything that you need, because ultimately, if you're older or if you have any health concerns and you require to be closer to a hospital, going to Vaudreuil has been a little bit complicated, especially with the bridge situation that we've been living for the last couple of years. By having a hospital in Vaudreuil, not only are we adding a ton of jobs to the area, but we're obviously making it more convenient and easy to live for people who have these concerns. Next on my list, Ville-Marie. Now, Ville-Marie has obviously been a coin toss, and you can say, LJ, how is Ville-Marie an interesting place to invest? Well, like I've said, the only place where I've seen prices pull back and stayed pulled back in the greater Montreal area has been Ville-Marie, which is the downtown area of Montreal. In and around downtown has been hurting. And what better way to take advantage of this than to invest in this area now? Because ultimately, we all know that the downtown core of a city is not just going to disappear. It's not like it's particularly unsafe or there's any variables of this nature. What happened was we had a huge amount of supply delivered right after we had a foreign buyers ban enacted, and right after we had a lot of people not interested in living downtown because everybody was working from home and everybody was excited in more space. Through the pandemic, Quebec really shut down. There was a lot of things that were happening that were really forcing people to not be able to go out, not be able to socialize, and therefore people were prioritizing living in large open spaces. We're talking houses in the suburbs, we're talking getting cottages, stuff of this nature, and ultimately living in 600 square feet or 800 square feet just wasn't cutting it for people anymore. So we had an exodus from downtown, we had the work from home that allowed the exodus, we then have the foreign buyers ban that stops people from investing in the downtown core. All of this was a perfect storm for this market to not really grow and even see prices pull back. What is the next logical thing that can happen? Well, we've already seen people at a minimum 3 days a week in the office, and that keeps growing every single couple months. We hear announcements of 4 days a week, we hear announcements of 5 days a week. I expect that trend to continue. The reality is work from home works for a lot of different industries, but we're seeing more and more companies believe that they have a lot more synergies happening from their employees when they are in the same workspace. And thus, I expect to see minimum 3 days, but probably 4 to 5 days back in office in a lot of the office towers downtown become more of a reality. As this happens, people are going to be more concerned about the commutes because we're going to have to deal with more traffic. We're going to have to deal with time on the road. Ultimately, that's probably going to lead to bringing more people back into the downtown core because they don't want to spend 2 hours of their day every single day in traffic. If you live downtown, you can probably spend a total of 30 minutes commuting, maybe 40, 15 to 20 minutes each way. That's a huge difference from the 2 hours on the other side, if it is just 2 hours, right? In some cases, it's even longer than that. So because of these reasons, I believe that having a kind of long view on Ville-Marie makes it a very interesting place to be investing right now. Next up, we have Anjou and the East End. Now we have a blue line extension of the Metro line happening right now. If you can play it out and wait and invest in the areas where we see the blue line heading to, well, again, it comes down to public transit and servicing these areas. Once that line gets there, transit's going to become a lot easier for a lot of the people. They're not just going to be relying on the bus lines anymore, but they're going to have direct metro access. A lot of clients approach us and say, hey, I'd like to be within 10 to 15 minute walks to a metro line. So a lot of these areas have been completely written off for a large amount of buyers. The second you give them access to public transit, specifically a metro, all of a sudden these areas are going to become an option for these buyers. And by all of a sudden increasing the size of your buyers pool, well, there's going to be more demand in the area. And ultimately, if there's not a huge influx in supply, Well, we're going to have prices increase in these areas. So I believe that the East End as well as Anjou, that's going to have the Blue Line extension, is going to go through a significant pricing growth and almost correction because it's been really lagging in the city over the last little while. So those are my 3 places to invest in Montreal or the greater Montreal area if you're looking to make a move and invest your money properly, safely, wisely over the course of the next 3 years. That would be my playbook. As promised, what am I personally doing in terms of investments right now? Well, where I'm at in my investment journey right now, I'm typically looking for bigger projects. So what does that mean right now? One of my favorite plays is always the 6plex optimization play. So we're looking for a 6plex in the Sud-West, in Verdun, in the Plateau, in areas like this where we already understand and know what kind of rents we'll be able to get after the fact. We know what the playbook looks like in terms of going in, renovating the property entirely, and then optimizing for rents. So obviously, if we can find a vacant property of that nature, that's really a slam dunk for us. The other thing that we're looking for is land that we can develop. Going through this development project over the course of the last 5 years has been a labor of love, but it's also taught me a lot. I know now what we should be looking for in order to optimize the costs and really have a project that's going to make a lot of sense in the long term. We now really understand how some of the financing tools that the government offers work and how we can really get the most out of them. So those are the 2 things that I'm specifically looking for. But I'm in a different place in my journey of investing than you might be. So obviously, I can't wait to discuss where you might be and how we can get you to your goals over the next couple of years. Whether you're buying your first home, planning a sale, or looking to add another investment to your portfolio, the timing and strategy are super important. So I want to leave you with this. You should be looking for a consultant and partner in your real estate investing journey. You can work with anybody out there, but I promise you that my team and I are specialists in walking people through from day one all the way to the end of the transaction and beyond. We become your resources for the rest of your lives for all things real estate, whether that means that you need a referral for a plumber, an electrician, or simply want to discuss ideas in order to get the most return on your home or your investment. So if you're looking for that kind of partnership and consulting service, book a call with me. The link is down below, and I can't wait to help you in your real estate journey achieve whatever dreams those may be of yourself. I'll catch you in the next video.